Hi all, welcome to this German football review. Plenty to kind of delve into of the three main divisions of the German football. Definitely some interesting points to pick up on, especially in the Bundesliga, but obviously give all the attention into the second division and third tier respectively as well. So Bayern Munich obviously going 10 in a row, that was kind of the big talking point everyone was hoping would not happen, and a slight, if you were a non-football, a non-Bayern fan, because you'd kind of like change, and sadly it's not happened. Dortmund had their chance to pose a threat, and even Bayer Leverkusen, to be honest, certainly had their chances, and both respectively drifted off in their own ways, especially in Dortmund's case, because they had an outside chance of bringing the title race back in, and obviously the Bochum loss and then obviously losing to Bayern themselves didn't really help, because if you think about it, even then it would have went down at the final day of the season at 73-72, and realistically I don't see it would have made much of a difference. I think Dortmund would have still lost by a point, but it would have been interesting nonetheless. Bayer Leverkusen obviously having Champions League football, and then at the moment it's up for debate between Leipzig, Freiburg and Union Berlin for who will have the fourth and final spot. I think Leipzig have it pretty academically, because they have Arminia Bielefeld. Obviously worth noting as well, by the time this goes live, the season may have finished by the time this goes live, so fourth will be sealed. Freiburg's definitely this team of the season from a talking point. No one expected them to be fifth, and I'll even be honest, I didn't expect Union Berlin to be sixth, but I suppose they've kind of settled in the top division now. Not the most impressive squad in the Liga, I will admit, but they do what's expected of them, and they've got a consistent team, and like, fair play to them. Another season in Europe, which is the main thing for them, and at least they're performing compared to Hertha Berlin, because Hertha have spent serious money to try and challenge, and it's not happened. Like, Hertha's another season where they're fighting to just stay up, and it's kind of disappointing, really. Hoffenheim just outside Europe in the end. Mainz, in the end, maybe could have done better themselves to fight into a European spot, but Cologne, fair play to them getting a European spot after bouncing back from relegation. And kind of getting back into a European spot. It was almost, that was a downfall the season that they went down, when they were in Arsenal's group. They went down that season, but Modeste has been a big part of their season, Markuf as well, so can't go wrong with that. Watching Gladbach, disappointing seasons. You can apply the same domestically for Eintracht Frankfurt, but continentally, by the time this goes live, they'll have the Europa League final against Rangers, so see how that plays out. Domestically, they've not performed really great at all. Eintracht Frankfurt, they pretty much need to win the Europa League to have European football next season, so big onus on that game. Bochum, definitely fair play to them, settling in kind of like mid-table. Can't go wrong with that. Wolfsburg, horribly inconsistent season. Like, I just don't get it. Like, Van Bommel, he didn't really click for the team. Like, this season, Wolfsburg obviously, you would expect them to be challenging for Europe again. That's kind of, I think, the expectation amongst the fans in the squad, and the owners and whatnot, but not to be. Wolfsburg definitely have to buck up their ideas. Like, they're another team lately. Since they won the league title just over a decade ago, they've had like seasons where they maybe challenge in Europe, then they'll have seasons where they're mid-table, then they've had a couple of seasons where they've had playoff games to get relegated, It was like hosting Kiel. I'm sure it was like 3 or 4 seasons ago, and they got lucky. And they can't afford, a team of that size can't really afford that. That's kind of startling. Augsburg, Hereford, like, depending how the last game of the season went, Hereford could have went down because they've got Stuttgart. Stuttgart have Cologne, but also depends how Stuttgart did and how Hereford do against Dortmund. Hereford could end up in the playoff game. Stuttgart stay up. Because goal difference would play a factor, because it's only minus 19 for Stuttgart, minus 23 for Hertha, and yeah, so it's worth factoring in. Armenia, depending how, as I said, how it all played out, Armenia could have ended up in the playoff game over Stuttgart. I don't see it. And Gruer Firth, initially the way their season was going, it looked like they were going to be breaking a long unwanted record, but they've salvaged it respectable in the end. 3 wins, 9 draws, and at the time of this recording, 21 losses. We'd assume it will be 22, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 10 draws because it's Augsburg. So so Gruer Firth, they may struggle next season in the second tier, I don't know, but certainly a team that's been interesting to have in the division this season. As I said, Armenia's like 2 seasons in the top flight. They've gave it a good go, and this season's just proved a bit of a tough one for them. Second tier, certainly one that always seems to bring a lot of talking points. It's usually with about 10 games to go, usually you always tend to notice from, we'll say 3rd down to about 12th, 10 to 12th, that teams can are still fighting tight for say that playoff game. So at the moment, Schalke won promotion. They haven't won the league at the time of recording. Schalke got promoted. If they were to win their final game, then they would be promoted automatically as champions. Werder Bremen need to win or better Hamburg's result, regardless. So as long as they can afford to lose, but if Hamburg lose as well or draw, in the final day of the season, Werder play Regensburg, Hamburg play Hansa Rostock. Hamburg have suddenly came in a bit of form at the right time over the last month, winning 4 games on the trot. Other teams around them like Darmstadt, St. Pauli, dropping points. Same for Nuremberg. Paderborn, they've kind of came in a little bit as well. And obviously, like Heidenheim hosting Kiel, Dusseldorf, they were kind of maybe expected to be challenging as well. Even you could say the same for Hanover. Hanover obviously finishing in the bottom half of the table, which is not ideal for them. But second tier always proves interesting. For me, like I always found Hamburg interesting. I always loved the clock in Hamburg's ground. They had a clock that they used to use to tell how many. And there was a number of seasons where they were under threat of relegation, and what's baffling about Hamburg is for all the division, for all the seasons so far, this is like their 4th season, I think 4th or 5th season in the second tier, and every season they've missed out on automatic promotion when they ended up in the playoffs. I think for 2 of the seasons when they were uncomfortable, then they drifted off. And then for a couple of seasons when they were in the playoff spot, they missed out or something. It's like, how can you muck it up? So this season, it looks like at worst they're going to get the playoff spot this season, unless, like depending how the Darmstadt Paderborn game goes, and you could even say St. Pauli v Dusseldorf, because it's not a given yet for Hamburg. If they win, and depending on how Bremen do, then you never know. Bremen might miss out, and for me personally, Schalke. If you're a German football fan, you'd like to see Schalke, Bremen, and Hamburg back in the top division. All 3 you naturally wouldn't assume would be in the second tier. it feels weird saying that, but that's kind of how German football's kind of become. Like Schalke, for so many years, you're so used to seeing them challenging the top six, sometimes being like the second best team in Germany and second or third best team in Germany, and obviously just a disastrous season when they got relegated. It was embarrassing, but it's not been the best season for them, they will admit, but due to the 9 losses, but lots of positives to be had that they've got themselves back up at first attempt. That's the way they want to look at it, so fair play to them on that. I know from, I think, like neutral point of view, like Darmstadt, St. Pauli, Paderborn, even Nuremberg, like there's like most of that division I have no qualms against. Like they're good teams to watch. Like the one thing I hate is not having like second tier. Since Sky got the license for the Bundesliga, they don't show the second tier games, which BT used to do normally on like Sunday lunchtime and Monday evening, sometimes Saturday lunchtime, depending on who was playing, and depending if they showed it. So you were delighted. You maybe get 2 or 3 games a week of the second tier, and it was great to watch. You would watch maybe Holstein Kiel v Hamburg, or Hamburg v Sandhausen, or Hanover v whoever. It was great. You just got to watch the division as it went, and it's a wee bit harder. Obviously, I still watch the highlights on like Bundesliga, like through like YouTube and so forth, and try and watch where I can, namely on like Sky or whatever. But it's just a wee bit of a shame, really. You can't, in essence, legally watch the division. It's a bit rotten, really. Because it's a great, like, what I find funny between like the German, like when you break it down, like England, Germany, Italy, and Spain, mainly. You can maybe say France is second tier, kind of less so at the 5, where they're actually enjoyable to watch. They're great leagues to watch, and because they're competitive, that's pretty much what. And like I always find it great. As I say, when it's the last 10 games to go of like the divisions, you always of the second tiers. It's like, and it's always the same. Like for Spain, Italy, Germany, they're always so like they're the 3 divisions, and even England, they 4 divisions. They're all so compact with 10 games to go from like a promotion charge. Less so at the bottom half, because it's kind of what you notice is maybe say from in this season's case, you'd maybe say Hansa Rostock, Regensburg, Hanover, Sandhausen, Dresden, Uwe, and Ingolstadt. They're the kind of teams you'd be like, they're not as performing, but it just makes for interesting viewing, really, to kind of see how they develop. Like Ingolstadt and Uwe, just sadly not being their seasons. Dresden bouncing back down after getting promoted back up, so they'll be going back down. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like with Gruer first coming back in this division, do Heidenheim, Holstein Kiel show a bit more consistency next season to challenge promotion, because they both missed out immensely the last few years of getting in. Like Holstein Kiel's missed out against Wolfsburg, and I think Heidenheim's missed out against I can't remember who they've missed. I think it was like Hereford, I think they missed out on, or whoever. But it's like both teams have missed out. They're usually the two that, for some reason, they're the ones that missed out. Dusseldorf obviously try and maybe get back up automatically. They did a few years back, but we'll see how it progresses with the second tier. So a fun little journey and adventure, I always find, with the division in general. And then like the third tier, Magdeburg promoted automatically as champions. Fair play to them going back into the second tier. Braunschweig and Kaiserslautern, kind of, I don't know what's happened between them both. Like I really don't. Kaiserslautern looked comfortable for even going up as champions like a month ago, And if you said a month ago, you'd have said Kaiserslautern probably could be going up as champions, or Magdeburg, and it's not been the case at all. And even it's just been baffling, really, how they've kind of drifted off badly at the worst time. And Kaiserslautern, looking at the playoff game, the Dynamo Dresden, I would say Dresden, Kaiserslautern for the playoff game. Hard to say really who has enough in the tank. Dresden might just do enough. They may do, especially with Kaiserslautern going in on bad form. That's the way to look at it. And because Braunschweig's this is what I find funny when you read into the tables. They say, oh, they're not up as champ. I'm what they forget is that Kaiserslautern have played all their games this season already. Just the way it's panned out, because their last game, if looking at the fixtures, was Turkoglu Munich München. So they're the odd one out, and because they've lost their last 3 in the sprint to Victoria Cologne, Dortmund's second team, and then Vine, it's Braunschweig are up automatically anyway. So it's Magdeburg, Braunschweig, or Magdeburg are up as champions, Braunschweig are up as second automatically. Kaiserslautern have got to play the playoff game against Dresden. I find it funny how when you read it on a few sites, they've not kind of explained that, and I'm it's common sense, because Munich, 1860 Munich have had a bit of bad form. Mannheim, Saarbrücken especially have went horribly off form. They looked comfortable about 6-8 weeks ago. I think start of April, going to end of March, they genuinely, you would have thought they would be they were second and third at the time, and obviously now by the time this is done, they're likely to have finished the league in 7th, and potentially even 8th, depending on how Vine and Saarbrücken do. But yeah, no, it's when you look at the third tier, it's a lot of fallen giants, as it were. Kaiserslautern, 1860 Munich stand out, especially because there's big teams that were in the top flight, and obviously they've been in the third tier for quite a number of seasons now, and it's quite worrying. From if you're a German football fan, a serious because they're massive grounds that they have. But Braunschweig, they were in the top flight 5-6 seasons ago, maybe a wee bit more, maybe a wee bit less. But Braunschweig getting back into second tier, you never know, they could get back in the top flight. Could make for interesting viewing. Obviously, the likes of Dortmund and Freiburg's second teams, they cannot go up any further than the third tier. That's just the way they work in Germany, which is a fair system. And this is why, if I'm honest, the German system is kind of where I would say where Scottish system should follow. Have 3 primary divisions. We could quite easily be like that, very easily. 3 primary divisions with regional divisions. It's not hard. England pretty much does that. France does it, and everywhere else does it. It's all regional. But we could have it a bit more expansive, as it were, in that regard. Obviously, Turkoglu München had to withdraw due to all their financial troubles and all that. They were pretty much short and sweet in the division. It was quite startling. I was not really expecting it, if I'm brutally honest. I think if you're obviously a follower of German football, you would say to yourself, well, the last league game that they played was March, and it is kind of worth noting that like it's more that was like financial troubles and for what I understand, and it's a shame really, to be honest. It's and it just just a real shame really, because they could have like the team itself's not the best, we know that. Like these teams in these divisions are working with what they've got, and I would say they've got 2 seasons in the division. Like it's still impressive, but like you're trying to do everything to survive really at the end of the day, and like going through like the rest of the division, like Victoria, Cologne, like Duisburger, usually between like I think second and third tier. They've been a team that I think a number of seasons ago were in the top flight. But like Zwickau, Meppen, Weihheim, they kind of swap between the second tier. But a lot of the teams in the third tier generally do stay in it. Havelis, they're like down pretty quickly. Würzburger, they're kind of in a bit of a pickle. But depending how the final game of the season went, the team that could be down is either Veri or Victoria Berlin, depending how the last day of the season went. But for me, I would say next season in the third tier, I think Osnabrück, Saarbrücken, Weihheim might all be pretty much in the healthiest position, because I don't feel Ingolstadt or Uwe could be prepared enough. They might have strong enough squads, but it depends if they perform enough, because it also depends with Kaiserslautern and Dresden, of course, in the playoff games. But top flight, can Dortmund, Leverkusen, Leipzig challenge for the title? Can Freiburg do the same again as they did this season? Can Eintracht Frankfurt, Wolfsburg, Mönchengladbach do better? And between the Schalke, Bremen, Hamburg situation, depending who's up and whatnot, could they all pose a threat in the third, in is like in the top flight, as it were? But it's going to be, we'll see how it goes. That's all you can do really with like the German divisions, is just say wait and see and take it from there. But have a good one, folks, and as I said, hopefully let me know your thoughts regarding the German divisions, if there's anything I've missed or whatnot. I know for like the regional divisions I've not included, but that will get more kind of brought in when we do our like preview, as it were. So take it easy all, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all later.